Here at home, there's no other way to say it. We're spooked. This week, what looked like a stampede in Times Square when a motorcycle backfired. Appearing in To Kill a Mockingbird at the Schubert Theater, actor Gideon Glick tweeted that they stopped the show when screaming civilians who mistook the sound for a bomb or shooting stormed the theater for safety. This is the world we live in. This cannot be our world. Sad but true. Let's ask Mark Rutherford, a licensed psychotherapist in private practice in South Florida. You can see his TED Talk on YouTube. Mark, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, reportedly, 22 veterans commit suicide every day, and some say that number sounds low. Are these serial massacres slowly but surely subjecting our entire population to something akin to post-traumatic stress syndrome?
In a short answer, yes. I mean, you have watched the progression of these kind of mass shootings and these kind of over-the-top events unfurl over the last 10 to 15 years. And, you know, you kind of sit back and think, what is at the, what is the genesis of these events? And the only thing you can, and people throw mental health, people throw, you know, racism, people throw hatred into it. What keeps coming up in mental health circles is it's just access to these guns. Other countries have all of these same issues as we have, and they're not experiencing the same thing.
Well, it's only prudent to have these active shooter drills in the workplace and certainly in public schools after the school shootings. But are these exercises stigmatizing and frightening school children?
Yes. If you look at any of I see a lot of teens in my practice, and they bring in a lot of their social media and, you know, what they see in the mainstream media. And that's really, it becomes not even something that they are afraid of. It just becomes the way of life. That's just the way things are. And so I think with that diminished view of what could be in the world out there, they're kind of rerouting their expectations of what is to come.
Well, what is your advice for parents, and I'll make it a two-part question, about the active shooter drill in school, and generally when one of these gun nuts shows up and mows down a bunch of people, as happened 3 times in a week? How do you talk to your kids about this?
I think we have to talk to our kids. I always say to my patients, tattoo it on your forehead, kind and honest. Talk to them in a kind and honest way. As parents, we want to protect our kids. We don't want them to be afraid. We don't want them to see the world as this kind of scary place. And, capital A-N-D, and it is. And so we have to kind of normalize the fact that they are afraid. We have to let them at least understand that we understand. We're not these well-meaning parents that don't get what's actually going on in the world, that we do understand that when they walk out of the door, that one of the first things on their mind, whether they're thinking about going to school, whether they're thinking about meeting their friends at the mall, whether they're thinking about, you know, going to the beach, that is always on their mind. You know, this kind of hypervigilance.
Yeah, do you find that we're prone to cocooning as a result? Do we just not dare go anywhere anymore?
Have you seen some of the attendance to a lot of these, you know, soft targets, as it were? In the last couple of years, they have gone steadily down, because I do think people are afraid. And, you know, we have here in South Florida something called Sunfest. It's this big outdoor festival. And I found myself at Sunfest kind of looking around, where you wouldn't have done that 10 years ago. You just wouldn't. But now you're looking for signs of that something's wrong. People are on TV and say, you know, look for somebody in a trench coat in summer. Look for somebody with the kind of shifty eyes who are sweating at the mall. You know, I think we become hypervigilant about these nonverbal cues that are always out there. And so there becomes this level of anxiety that people feel when they shouldn't, you know, really be feeling that, but they do.
Do you think it's possible?
The way of the world right now.
Is it possible that if you see something, say something is backfiring?
I don't think so. I think that is really the only outlet we have here. If you do see something, say something, yes. The flip side of that coin is that it can incite hysteria. You know, we saw that in Times Square with the the car backfiring and people thinking it was gunshot, and everybody kind of overreacted. So that, yes, is a possibility to that. But the other side is if you don't say something and something happens, which it is happening on a much more regular basis, then you're in trouble.
I want to play a piece of news tape for you. This is President Trump at a recent rally. Give a listen.
We don't let them, and we can't let them use weapons. We can't. Other countries do. We can't. I would never do that. But how do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that statement.
Try as we might to be the cable news channel that sheds more light than heat and doesn't get sucked into the political noise about guns, guns, guns. I got to ask you, can the president's outrageous remarks animate people as unhinged as these shooters?
Yes, yes. I mean, and he's doing it. You see the guy from El Paso and in his manifesto and what he said, the language that he used was the exact same language President Trump is using. I think that if anyone anywhere in the world were to see that and then to try to connect the dots to what's happening here in the United States, it's a no-brainer. He absolutely is connecting those dots for the people that are watching it. And he's trying to connect it to immigration, which has nothing to do with immigration.
Right.
Out of the 250, ones, it's white males who are doing it.
Yep.
There's no way to ignore that fact.
Mark Rutherford, thanks again for joining us here on The Big Picture.